Dear learners and viewers, how are you everybody? I hope you all are fine and ready to enjoy this program. Let me first introduce you with the main topic of the program. In this program, I will discuss the concepts relating to the theory of supply. I will confine my discussion on the chapters covering the theory of supply in the microeconomics textbook of our MBA program, as well as the economic environment of business textbook of our Commonwealth Executive MBA program. Dear learners, although this program has specially been designed for the students of our MBA and Commonwealth Executive MBA program, the students of other programs like BBA and postgraduate diploma in management programs will be benefited from this program too. Dear learners, may I now request you to bring some papers and pen in front of you so that you can keep notes on the difficult parts of the program. And later on, you will have a chance to talk to your tutor or your fellow students in a group, or you may talk to the economics course teacher at School of Business, Bangladesh Open University. Dear learners, I think in the meantime you got the papers and pen in front of you. Let me now take you to the main part of the program. Oh, I forgot one thing to tell you. First, I have to introduce you with the aim and objectives of this program before entering into the main discussion. First, the aim of this program. The aim of the program is to help you have a clear understanding of the concepts and theory of supply and assist you analyze the real-life issues based on the knowledge you will gather from this program. Now, let me introduce you with the objectives of this program. After carefully attending and viewing this program, you will be able to define the concept of supply of a commodity, describe the determinants of supply of a commodity, explain the relationship between the price of the commodity and the quantity supplied of the commodity, explain the law of supply, draw the supply curve from a supply schedule, explain the reasons of shifts of and movements along a supply curve, finally draw the market supply curve from the individual supply curves. Dear learners and viewers, by this time you have been familiar with the aim and objectives of this program. Now, let me take you to the main part of the program. As a layman, yes, we are familiar with the word supply, but in this program, I will try to discuss what supply means in economics. In economics, supply has a special definition. It has a special meaning. To be supply of a commodity, or if we think a person has the supply of a commodity, three conditions are to be met. These conditions are: the producer has the desire to produce, the producer is able to produce the commodity, and he or she makes it available for sale. Dear learners and viewers, we have learned that three conditions must be met for being a supply of a commodity. If the conditions are partially met, we cannot tell that there is a supply of the commodity. We saw the farmer lady met all three conditions. She had the desire to produce paddy. She has been successfully able to produce paddy, and she made it available in the village hut for sale. So, the farmer lady has the supply of paddy because she met all the three conditions. She had the desire to produce paddy, she has been able to produce paddy, and she made her paddy available at the village hut for sale. Dear learners and viewers, we found that if all the three conditions are met, only then we can tell that there is a supply of a commodity, otherwise you can't. So, let us take you to a real life situation. We can see the actions of two farmers. The farmers are Liton Mia and Fazlo Mia. Liton Mia has the desire to produce vegetable, but he fails to produce it because he doesn't have sufficient fund of his own, or even he couldn't manage fund from anybody else. So he has been disheartened. On the other hand, we can see Fazlul Miah has the desire to produce vegetable, and in addition he has been able to produce it as he had capital of his own. We can see Fazlul Miah has been successfully produced the commodity and then makes it available in the market for sale. What we can infer from this situation? In case of Leighton Miah, we saw that the producer is willing to produce the commodity. This condition has been fulfilled only, but other two conditions are not fulfilled. So Leighton Miah does not have the supply of commodity. And in case of Fazlul Miah, all three conditions has been fulfilled. First condition, second and third one. All these three conditions has been fulfilled in case of Fazlul Miah. So we can say the Fazlul Miah has the supply of vegetable. Dear learners and viewers, I think by this time you have been familiar with the definition of supply from economic point of view. Now let me introduce you with the determinants of the supply of a commodity. So the determinants of the supply are price of the commodity, prices of the factors of production, weather, expected future price, goal of the farm, prices of other goods produced, and the state of the technology, etc. So we can see here the price of the commodity is the prime determinant of the supply of the commodity. So now if we keep the price of the commodity variable and all other determinants or factors unchanged or fixed, we will get a relationship between the price of the commodity and quantity supplied of the commodity. It is a direct relationship. That means if price increases, quantity supplied of the commodity also increases. If the price decreases, the quantity supplied of the commodity decreases. We saw the determinants of supply. So we found there, if we keep all other factors fixed or given or same, only the price of the commodity is changed, then we will find a positive relationship between the price and the quantity supplied of the commodity. We find if the price of the commodity increases, the quantity supply of the commodity also increases, and if the price of the commodity decreases, the quantity supply of the commodity decreases. So this is a conditional relationship between the price and supply. This conditional relationship between the price and the quantity supplied of a commodity is called the law of supply. Now let us see what law of supply says. Remaining all other things same, if the price of the commodity rises, the quantity supplied of the commodity increases, and if the price of the commodity falls, the quantity supplied of the commodity decreases. We saw in the law of supply there is a relationship between the price of the commodity and the quantity supplied of the commodity. So now if we use numerical values to show the relationship between price of the commodity and the quantity supplied of the commodity, what we saw in the law of supply, we will get a price quantity table which is called supply schedule. We can see in the table when the price of potato is taka 5, the quantity supplied of potato is 3 kilo, and when the price is 7, the quantity supplied of potato is 5, and when the price is 10, quantity supplied of potato is 8, when the price is 13, the quantity supplied of potato is 10, when the price is 15, the quantity supplied of potato is 15. So we can see here as the price goes up, that the quantity supplied of potato also goes up. So this is called the supply schedule. Now if we depict the price quantity pairs showed in the supply schedule in a two-dimensional space, we will get the supply curve. So, let us see how supply curve is derived from the supply schedule. We can see on the horizontal axis the quantity supplied is shown, and in the vertical axis price of the commodity is shown, and we found the points A, B, C, D, E, which each of which shows the price of the commodity and the corresponding quantity of the commodity. If we add all these points, we get S0 H0 curve, which is called the supply curve. So, now what does supply curve show? Supply curve shows a upward trend. That means it is an upward sloping curve. That means there is a direct relationship between the price of the commodity and the quantity supplied of the commodity. And every point on the supply curve shows the price and the corresponding quantity supplied of the commodity. For example, at point B, we can see when the price is 7, the quantity supplied of potato is 5 kilo. Another example, at point D, we can see when the price is 13, the quantity supplied of potato is 10 kilo. Now, let us see if the own price of the commodity increases, what happens to the supply curve. For example, if the price goes up from taka 7 to 13, we can see the quantity supplied of potato has been increased from 5 kilo to 10 kilo. So, in this case, we find we just remain on the same supply curve. We are moving from point B to point D on the same supply curve. This is called movement along the supply curve. So, we learned if the price of the commodity is increased, we just remain on the same supply curve. The supply curve is not shifting to the right or left. So, what happens if other factors which determine the supply of a commodity is changed? Suppose the weather worsens. If the weather gets worse, what happens to the supply? The production of the commodity is decreased. So, the supply curve shifts to the left, which we call the leftward shift of the supply curve. We can see at price 10, when the previous quantity supplied was 8 kilo, now the quantity supplied is 4 kilo. That means, due to the leftward shift of the supply curve, the quantity supplied has been reduced. Now, let us take another example. If the expected future price is low, what happens? The producer will think that in future the price will be low, so the profit will be low. So, in that case, he will try to sell more of its commodity. So, we can see in this case the supply curve shifts to the right. So, at the same price, now the producer is selling more. We can see the producer is selling 15 kilo of potato at the previous price. We saw how supply curve is derived, we saw the movement along the supply curve, and we saw the shift of the supply curve, rightward shift or leftward shift. Now, let us see some cases of the movement along the supply curve and the shift of the supply curve. We can see when commodity's own price goes up, there is a movement along the supply curve. That means, we remain on the same supply curve. And when the weather goes bad, we see the leftward shift of the supply curve. If the expected future price is low, we can see the rightward shift of the supply curve. If the factor prices has gone up, we can see the leftward shift of the supply curve, and if the new technology is invented, we see the rightward shift of the supply curve. And if the tax on input prices rises, we can see the leftward shift of the supply curve. Dear learners and viewers, up to now we have learned how the supply curve is derived. We learned the movement along the supply curve. We learned the situations of the shifts of the supply curve. Now, I am showing you how we can get the market supply curve from the individual supply curves. First, I want to show you how we can get the quantity supplied in the market numerically from the quantity supplied by the individual producers. In this case, we are assuming there are two producers or sellers in the market. We can see when the price is taka 2, the seller 1 sells 2 kilo of potato, whereas the seller 2 sells 1 kilo of potato. So the market supply is 3 kilo. Similarly, at taka 4, the market supply is 8 kilo. When the price is taka 6, the market supply is 14 kilo, and when the price is 7, the market supply is 18 kilo. Dear learners and viewers, we have learned how we can get market supply from the individual supplies numerically. Now, if we plot the price and the quantity supplied in the market on a two-dimensional space, we will get the market supply curve, or we can add the individual supply curves horizontally to get the market supply curve. Let us see that now. We can see the seller 1's supply curve is S1 S1 and seller 2's supply curve is S2 S2. Now, we can get the market supply curve by adding seller 1's supply curve and seller 2's supply curve horizontally. So, we can see at price 4, the seller 1's supply is 5 kilo and seller 2's supply is 3 kilo. So, if we add these two together, we find the market supply at price 4 is 8, which is shown in point A. Now, at price 6, we can get the seller 1's supply is 8 kilo and seller 2's supply is 6 kilo, and altogether the market supply at taka 6 is 14 kilo, which is shown in point B. So, now if we add point A and point B by a curve, we get SS supply curve, which is the market supply curve. Dear learners and viewers, what we have learned from this program? We have learned the concept of supply, then we learned the determinants of supply of a commodity, then we learned the law of supply, then we learned how to draw the supply curve from a supply schedule, then we learned the reasons behind the shift of and movements along a supply curve. Finally, we learned how to draw the market supply curve from the individual supply curves. Dear learners and viewers, let me now give you some questions for brainstorming. Question 1. Remaining all other things unchanged, if the price of rice increases, how it will affect the quantity supplied of rice? Question 2. If government withdraws subsidy on fertilizer, what changes will occur with the shape or the position of the supply curve of fertilizer? Question 3. If the production of rice is hampered due to severe drought, what will be the impacts on the supply curve of rice of the commodity? Dear learners and viewers, hope this program helped you have a clear understanding on the concepts relating to the theory of supply. If you faced any problem to understand any of the concepts, please read your textbook or talk to your tutor or discuss them with your fellow students, or you may talk to the economics course teacher at School of Business, Bangladesh Open University. Thanks for being with me in this program. Have a nice time. So, we will come soon again with a new topic. Goodbye.